One of the most common repeat comments I get on my channel is people pointing out the fatal flaw in my tiny theater. And that is the fact that when I am sitting in these chairs, the direct line of sight from my ear to my rear surround speakers is impeded by the back headrest. And you're not wrong. This is a problem that I've had from the beginning, because these are the original chairs that I set up here in my tiny theater. Now, here's the other problem. I really like these chairs. These chairs are super comfortable. These are the Tuscany executive chairs from Valencia Home Theater Seating. And they are leather and they are super high quality, and I love them. They've got obviously they recline. The headrest, you can raise it up. You've got lumbar support, on for your lower back, heating and massage. I mean, these are just killer seats, and I love them. But the only problem is the fact that my back headrest blocks the sound from my rear speakers. Now, this wouldn't be as big of a problem if my speakers were higher, which typically that is a common thing that people will do in their home theaters is the rear speakers are going to be a little bit higher, and that would basically solve the problem. But here in my tiny room, if I move them any higher, they're almost going to become indistinguishable from my height speakers because I just don't have a lot of room in here. So what is the solution? Well, you might be thinking to yourself, well, just throw any old chair in there. Most chairs don't have a back headrest. And yes, I could set up a folding, like a card table chair and sit here. But I'm not going to, because that's ridiculous. So instead, the solution is a different chair from Valencia Home Theater Seating. The solution is the Valencia Naples Elegance theater seats. These are, in the words of Ferris Bueller, so choice. These seats are amazing. Thank you to Valencia for sending these chairs out for me to review. They did send me the seats, but they're not paying me for the review, and they're not telling me what I have to say. The first and most important thing you'll notice is that my ears now have a clear line of sight back to my rear speakers. And there is a full and clear line of sight to the side speakers as well. There's no like overhang, from the backrest to the other chairs. Now, as I mentioned, the previous chairs, they're the Valencia Tuscany executive heat and massage chairs. Now, those chairs are super nice and super comfortable. So I'm going to quickly cover kind of the differences between those chairs versus these chairs. And right off the bat, aside from the absence of a headrest, which if you're concerned about sound, then obviously the most important thing is to not have a headrest. But if you prefer comfort over that experience, or maybe you don't have rear surround speakers, maybe you only have sides and you're not as concerned about having a clear, line of sight to rear speakers, and you prefer to have that headrest, then the Tuscany executive chair would be a better option for you. Now, me, in my situation here in this room, I prefer the Naples Elegance for that reason. Now, as far as comfort of the chairs, these chairs, the Naples, they have, I would say it's kind of a more formal feel to them, because your posture, you sit up a little more. Now, obviously, the seats do recline. We'll get to that in a moment. But they've got a nice firm feel to them. When you sit in, it doesn't just like swallow you up. Like, you definitely feel very supported. Whereas the Tuscany executive chairs, it was you felt more kind of cocooned in the chair, maybe is a good way to put it. You're just kind of like enveloped in the chair, and it's very good, very comfortable. These chairs, it's a little more formal. You kind of sit up. It's a little more, straightforward, if you will. Now, like I say, these chairs do recline, and the buttons to do so are just right here on the side. It's similar to most typical theater chairs, especially for sure what you get in like a commercial cinema. You've got just the buttons here, and so the seats recline. You got the footrest, and then you've got back, and they go way back. Like this is how far back they go. Now, as I mentioned, no headrest, right? Now Valencia does make a model chair that's similar to this in that you have a clear, you know, line of sight behind you, but they do have a headrest that raises up. So if you are, if you were in this situation and you wanted some support for your head, then it would raise up. And that chair is the Barcelona. I have sat in the Barcelona. I don't own one. I've never owned one. But when I went to M-Wave, they did have multiple different models Valencia had set up there. And one of them was the Barcelona, and they are extremely comfortable. So if you are concerned about having a headrest, that Barcelona might be kind of like a middle path, a compromise where you can have clear line of sight behind you, but also the option to raise a headrest if you want to. Now, another thing about this chair, it does have full lumbar support, which is really nice, to support that lower back so you don't have any strain there. That's really nice. Now, a difference between this chair and the Tuscany Executive is that the Tuscany Executive used a remote for all of the controls because it had so many. Like I say, it had like heat, massage, lumbar support, the headrest raised up and down. So it just had a lot of buttons, and it was kind of more than you could just put on like the side here. And so it was actually a handheld remote. So if you have a preference one way or the other, if you don't mind the remote or you prefer the remote, then maybe the Tuscany Executive would be the way to go. But if you like this button, just a few buttons on the side here, then maybe the Naples Elegance would be the one for you. Now, another thing about this chair that kind of adds to just kind of the formal aspect of it is this glossy piano black finish on the armrests. Now this is another difference. So when you're resting your arms on this, clearly, I mean, there's a hard surface, but it is very comfortable, but it definitely feels more formal. Whereas the armrests in the Tuscany Executive, they are, softer, obviously, and more they have more cushion to them. The other thing about this piano black finish, very susceptible to fingerprints. That's the downside. The upside, or the silver lining, is that it's very easy to clean. I tried it. That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, wow, you get fingerprints on this. But then I just grabbed a t-shirt. I had a t-shirt in the laundry room and wiped them down, and it totally restored it to brand new condition. They clean up really easily. Now, another thing I want to highlight about these chairs is the fabric. Now, typically, theater chairs are usually leather or some sort of leather variant. These are not. This fabric, it's this black, it's a velour. It's super soft, and it has just a real premium feel to it. And I think it looks really good. And obviously you can spot here this kind of white piping, kind of an accent that goes around the cushions and the back headrest. And it just kind of makes it pop. My wife pointed out how she likes how the white piping kind of matches the aesthetic here in our room, because it's kind of got a lot of white in it. With our white trim, etc. But if you were doing like a fully blacked out, dedicated theater, it might be kind of nice to have kind of this white piping, just kind of give it just a little kind of accent. If you like it, it really comes down to personal taste. Maybe you don't like the piping, maybe you do. But yeah, that's definitely something to consider. I also like these cup holders. They're not really cup holders. It's just kind of like a recessed circle that you can set your cup in. It's kind of nice.
It makes it a little easier to grab your cup versus having it in a cup holder. But also, if you have kids or are prone to knocking things over, then maybe these wouldn't be as helpful, and you might prefer something to set your cup in, which is what we have with our Tuscany executive seats. But yeah, they come together really easily. The backs, when they arrive, they're in two pieces, which makes it really nice for transporting it, moving it throughout your house. They can fit through, most any door. You just turn it on its edge, and then it comes right through. And then once you have it in the room, then the backs just snap right into place. Easy, super easy. Yeah, but overall, I am very happy with these chairs. They are really nice. They really add to this room. Uh, Now, I think these chairs aesthetically match better to kind of the aesthetic of this particular room, because they are, they're black, and the speakers are black, and the equipment is black, and like the rest of the room is white, and it's got this white piping. So it just kind of matches the aesthetic of this room. Also, these chairs, because they are shorter, they don't take up as much space. When you walk in here in the tiny room, the room feels more open. It feels larger, and the chairs kind of match the size of the room, if that makes sense. I think the Tuscany executives, because the room is so small, the Tuscany executives were kind of like a dominant. You walk in, you're like, oh wow, we got these large chairs here. But now we have chairs that size wise, they I think they match a little bit more with the room. I am so excited to get everything now calibrated with the new setup, right? Because now I'll be able to set up the microphone in every single position to calibrate with Direct Live, and the microphone will have a clear line of sight to every single speaker. It won't be impeded at all. And so I'm really excited to see how this room sounds with these new chairs. Thanks for watching.